My wife announced her pregnancy, but I'm sterile, she cheated, and I played along for months before revealing the truth, only to discover she'd been lying about her work trips too. For context. Before everything came crashing down, Emily and I had what appeared to be the perfect marriage. We had been together for 7 years, married for 5. We met in college, both of us ambitious, driven, and full of life. We were that couple that everyone envied, the couple that seemed to have it all figured out. She was beautiful, intelligent, and compassionate, while I was the dependable, steady one. We balanced each other perfectly, or so I thought. There were no major red flags, at least not at first. But as time passed, subtle changes in Emily's behavior began to nag at me. Small things, like the way she'd get defensive when I asked about her work trips or the sudden uptick in her late nights at the office. But I shrugged it off. We had been through so much together, our jobs, our home, and even some tough times in our personal lives. So, when she came to me with the news of her pregnancy, I was in shock but ultimately willing to support her. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that my wife had been living a double life. The truth would hit me harder than anything I could have ever imagined. The first real indication that something was off came a few months ago when Emily came home from one of her supposed business trips and immediately went to the bathroom. It wasn't unusual for her to go freshen up after a long flight or drive, but this time, she didn't greet me with her usual warmth. She didn't even kiss me, which was strange because she always kissed me, no matter how tired she was. I shrugged it off, but as I walked past the bathroom door, I noticed something strange. She had left her phone on the kitchen counter, unlocked. This was unlike her. Emily was incredibly protective of her privacy, especially when it came to her phone. So, naturally, I felt compelled to take a quick glance. At first, there was nothing alarming. But as I scrolled through her messages, I came across something that made my stomach turn. There were texts from a number I didn't recognize, with intimate, flirtatious exchanges between her and a man named Matt. I read one message that sent a chill down my spine. "I miss you so much, babe. Can't wait for our weekend getaway. Just need to get through this work trip first." I froze. Weekend getaway? What the hell was she talking about? Emily had never mentioned a weekend getaway before. She had always told me she was going to conferences or client meetings. But this was something different. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I didn't. I was still in disbelief. Instead, I locked her phone, put it back on the counter, and tried to act like nothing had happened. I had no proof of anything yet, and I wasn't sure I was ready to hear the truth. But deep down, I knew I was only scratching the surface. For the next few days, I kept my eyes and ears open. I watched her closely, looking for any signs of guilt, but Emily was the same as always. She was warm, affectionate, and continued with her usual routine. The more I thought about it, though, the more suspicious I became. The messages weren't a one-time thing. There were multiple exchanges, some more intimate than others. I even found a picture of her and Matt, laughing together at a bar, arms around each other. That picture alone broke me. She was cheating on me, and I hadn't seen it coming. But I still needed more proof. I wasn't going to confront her without something concrete. A few weeks later, I took a more drastic step. I called up an old friend from medical school, Dr. Rachel, someone I trusted completely and knew I could rely on for the truth. I told her the situation, explained everything, and asked her to help me figure out if Emily's pregnancy could possibly be mine. "Are you sure about this?" Rachel asked, her voice concerned but steady. "You've known about your condition for years. You're sterile. I don't know how this could happen." "I don't know either," I replied. "But I need to know for sure." Rachel agreed to help. She arranged for me to meet with her at her clinic under the pretense of a routine checkup, but I knew what we were really doing. She took a blood sample from me, one that could be compared with a paternity test. I didn't want to believe it, but I needed to know. A few days later, I received the results. The test came back negative. I wasn't the father. My heart sank as I stared at the results. Emily had been lying to me for months. She had cheated on me, and I wasn't even the father of the child she was carrying. I couldn't process it all at once. I felt like I was suffocating, drowning in the reality of it all. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I had to confront her. I couldn't let this go on any longer. She needed to face the truth, and so did I. The next few days were a blur of planning. I had no idea how to approach her with the truth. How could I confront the woman I loved with something so devastating? But I had to. I couldn't live with the lies anymore. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. Finally, The day came. I decided to play it cool. I waited until the evening when she came home from work. She was in a good mood, as usual, but there was something different about her. She seemed too happy, too content. Almost as if she was trying to mask something. "Hey, how was your day?" I asked, trying to sound casual, though I was anything but. "It was fine. Busy. You know, the usual." She gave me a tired smile and set her things down. "I've been thinking," I began, my voice steady but full of tension. "We need to talk." She froze. Her face shifted, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. She must have known something was coming. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I didn't waste any time. I know about Matt. I know you've been seeing him behind my back. I know I'm not the father of your child, and I know you've been lying about your work trips." Her face went pale. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She just stood there, staring at me in shock. I waited for her to say something, anything, but she didn't. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why did you do this? What did I do wrong?" Emily's eyes welled up with tears, but I didn't feel sympathy. I felt anger, betrayal, and an overwhelming sense of loss. She wasn't the woman I thought she was. I don't know," she stammered, her voice shaking. I was lonely. You were always so focused on work. I didn't feel loved anymore." That hit me like a punch to the stomach. I had always been there for her. I had always supported her, loved her, done everything I could to make her feel secure. And this is how she repaid me? I didn't want to hear her excuses. I didn't want to listen to her explanations. I had all the proof I needed. "I want a divorce," I said, my voice firm and final. "I'm done." The words felt liberating. As soon as I said them, I knew it was over. There was no going back. The woman I thought I knew was gone. She was a stranger to me now, and I couldn't live with her lies anymore. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Emily tried to convince me to stay, sending texts and calling me at all hours of the day, but I didn't respond. I didn't want to hear it. I had already made up my mind. In the end, the divorce was swift. I didn't fight her on anything. I had no reason to. I just wanted out. I moved out of the house, leaving her and the life we had built behind. It took me a long time to heal. The betrayal cut deep. But I eventually realized something: I didn't need Emily. I didn't need her lies or her deceit. I was better off without her. And as for the baby she was carrying, I had no part in it. I didn't hear much from her after the divorce. A few months later, I heard she had the baby, but I didn't care to know any details. I had moved on. I had learned the hardest lesson of my life, but I had come out stronger for it. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone who didn't even know how to be honest. And in the end, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.